almost. Nice.
Crazy brain. I've played that in a long time.
I love that.
That's why I sucked. It happened.
It happens.
Good morning.
You know, it's hard to keep all of those different songs in your head, you know?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I think I've played something different for the past 180 some plus.
That says a lot. I say to heck with this digital transformation stuff.
Sorry, dude.
The fact that you've done 180 different riffs from different songs is actually way more impressive than any of the crap we've talked about.
There you go. There you go.
And you know what? I would be surprised if you actually played the same song. You know, you're getting to the point where you might forget what you've played before, and you might play the same song we've already had on one of our other episodes.
Yeah, and you know, we've been focusing mostly on like grunge and hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did DMX Party Up. You know, we throw a little bit of hardcore rap in there here occasionally, but for the most part, yeah, we've been pretty genre specific.
Oh yeah, then I challenge you for next week to do Jelly Roll. How's that?
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
The challenge.
Yeah. So,
that's a challenge, all right.
But hey, hi everybody in IoT Coffee Talk land.
It's merch.
Huh?
It's actually washed and clean.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, just to kick things off, just wanted to remind everybody, Elevate Our Kids is having a donation drive going on right now. Yeah, and we're trying to raise $25,000. Yeah. $25,000 to help kids K through 12 get laptops in their hands so that we can help bridge the digital equity divide. So all donations go to this effort. And you know what, Stephanie, I got to give you props. It's not easy doing this stuff, right? We get the donations, but then there's all the logistics, all the management that has to happen in the background. You know what? Hats off to you, because you know it's a labor of love. I mean, that sounds really cliche, but it really is. You know, this stuff is, and so I appreciate you. I'm sure that the rest of the IoT Coffee Talk crew appreciates you for all the work that you do, because none of this stuff is easy, and we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the kids, and so
right.
And hopefully, you know, folks out there who listen to our show, and even those who don't, you know, you'll find it in your heart to make a generous donation this year. We're actually trying to get in contact with the folks over at the Lahaina in Maui to help you know, the school districts there, because you know they suffered that tragic and catastrophic fire, and we want to see if we can do some good over there. So we're in the process of doing that. So if you guys want to help out, you know, this is a nice way of doing it. And then if you're not into charity, but you're into fashion, Steve, our model, there you go. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
I have the black one.
I'm not used to seeing the black one. Yeah.
The thing is, we want you to be generous, not generative.
Yeah.
True that.
Touche.
That is some pretty profound stuff, man. Anyways, yeah. How you guys doing?
Good.
How are things in Bandera?
It is good. We had like a week of gray skies, and it was like horrible because it was right after the time change. So you already were like sleepy at 5 p.m. And it didn't
Oh,
help that it was dark. We were
oh,
having
God,
like
you're
a
breaking my
Seattle
heart.
weather. The sun just
Yeah.
came out yesterday.
And
So
Stephanie, all I can say is thank you for sending it over to Florida because
it's awful.
We got your weather for the last 24 hours, and we got another 2 days of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah, I
perfect.
think it moved over there.
That was perfect every day on Vero Beach, dude.
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, the ocean is churning something fierce out there. Garbage all over the beach. It's not good. It's not a Chamber of Commerce week.
Well, we don't have very many Chamber of Commerce weeks in the Seattle area.
yeah. I don't think we have any of those.
Oh my gosh, it's not
Nice
good.
and cold and rainy and dark. That's
We always tried to do our recruiting for Microsoft like during August. It's always like this.
It's like a 2-week window.
Yeah. Exactly. You're gonna love it here.
Yeah. And Rob, I was very serious in my response back to you. I would love to go hear that submarine seminar that you did for the kids.
Oh,
It's got to be. It had to be freaking cool as hell.
it was fun. It was absolutely fun. Yes.
I almost said that is that the yellow submarine? The way you had it drawn out.
I've heard that one before. You know, we all have spent as engineers. We all spend a lot of time on whiteboards, and sometimes the artistry isn't as awesome as it could be. But yes, describing how all the systems work on the submarine and all the science behind that for all these fifth graders, it was fun. So just in case you didn't think you could teach the basics of nuclear fission and how to create energy, you really can actually, it's not as hard as it used to be, So yes, we talked about pressure, sea pressure, hull, about the fact that you can, at the surface, you can put a string and attach it to either side of the hull of the submarine inside. And then as you dive deeper, the string starts to droop down, which tells you that the submarine is compressing, which turned out to be a key thing, having flexible, high-yield steel that can flex, just like skyscrapers are meant to be able to flex in high winds and things like that.
Except for the one in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that's sinking. Yeah,
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah. You try to make things too stiff and not flexible, it turns out to be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because everyone on this show knows, they remember back in the 70s when the Soviets built some titanium submarines thinking titanium's stronger than steel. This is going to be better. And guess what? They started to crinkle like aluminum cans, even though it's stronger than steel, because they didn't flex. So there's extra.
I wasn't born yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, geez, here we go.
I'm just kidding. I was born in the 70s. Oh.
Yeah. So what's going on in the tech world? What's going on in the tech world this week? Anything exciting or new?
Microsoft Ignite. So I'm sure the world is going to get a whole earful of generative AI. So I'm going to be listening in on that. I was going to go, but
I sat in for about 20 minutes on an ARM event just a second ago. It's under, I can't talk about it, but so maybe a week or two, you guys will hear about some of their announcements.
An ARM event from an undisclosed company?
No.
Oh,
ARM.
Okay.
From ARM.
Product announcements.
Yeah. Oh, from ARM themselves. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But it's all, everybody's on that AI bandwagon. So stay tuned.
Yeah. I think that here's the thing. We've been talking about it for quite some time, actually, better part of the year, since this AI revival. The stuff that's the stuff that's valuable is just like really simple stuff. And you just have to, you got to think about like all this generative AI insanity. Everyone tells you you're starting off with an infant and you have to train it. and train it and train it. And when you look at stuff that's being deployed out at the edge and has been for a long time, you have to train the crap out of it until it becomes absolutely an expert. And the only way, and here's the odd thing, in order for it to become an expert, it can only be an expert on something very specific, just like people. And so it really begs the question is, how valuable will general AI be when statistically it's so overwhelmed with stuff and options that it really may not make the right choice if you're, asking to make decisions or even do simple things as classifications. Eventually, it might just not know what to do.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. Like this OpenAI now has these RAGs and things where you can sort of create your own chatbot really easily. And as you said, like the chatbot's only going to be as good as the data you train it on. So what I'm afraid of is people are going to train it on sort of kind of a half-ass bucket of data. It's just like, remember transcription services and stuff? They're going to use it. It's going to be like, okay, not great. They'll use it once or twice and then they'll stop using it because it just wasn't, it was trained on data that was too partial and it doesn't meet their expectations because their expectations, of course, are through the roof. And so I think this kind of democratization of AI, I think everyone's going to jump into the pool and then they're going to be like, oh man, this water is like a little cold.
I was wondering, Pete, on that subject, I had a conversation with somebody. They were talking about when do we get to the point where there's templates? Like everybody's lazy and they just say, okay, I'm going to take these templates, AI issuing templates, and throw it in there and let it learn off these templates. Like, what the hell?
They already do that, man. They already do that. That's like, if you listen to half of the stuff that Google is doing with workplace stuff and what, these, what do you call it? Co-pilots are doing, they're just going off of templates. Somebody has to build them. So
you need the data. You need clean data, labeled data. And, none of these enterprises are going to go through that hassle. They're just going to point it to the employee manual and say, go. And then it's going to be like 80% right. And then they'll be like, screw this.
And then they're trying to templatize the prompts too. Right.
Yeah, and they have AI for coders. So essentially getting you halfway there, supposedly, right? With all of doing all the hard work in the back end. So
you're halfway to somewhere. I don't know.
That was the whole purpose of reusable code.
Right. I love the posts I've seen on Twitter, on X, about like where the guy just shows from his computer a dashboard, some cool web dashboard for some deal, and then tells ChatGPT to create this thing that you see. And magically, it wrote all the code to recreate this insane, web dashboard or whatever. I don't know if it was yes or not.
Well, there's a cover of the New Yorker, I think it was this week, and it showed like a writer with a bunch of crumpled pieces of paper on his desk, and he sort of pointed to the robot to fix it. And so the robot like basically made a big pyramid out of all these crumpled pieces of paper and was like, ta-da! Ta-da. It's like not exactly how it's supposed to work.
I've been playing around with Canva, the marketing software. I do a lot of stuff in that. Well, they have their AI kind of applet built in there, and you can, it says, hey, put in 5 words of something that you're about to create, right? And you do it, and I haven't found anything that works with any of it yet. So and I'm like, okay, I'm a basic human. I know marketing. I know what to ask it to do, and it's still not. It doesn't produce anything that's good. So you end up creating everything from scratch anyway. So
we'll see. I mean, it'll get better and better. I'm worried about people's first impressions where just like the, tech, like I said, voice to text software, you try it a couple times. It's not exactly good enough. And then you just abandon it. So it'll work eventually. But I just, kind of democratizing it really early like this with a lot of garbage input is not going to be good.
Well, the way it's going to work is people are going to listen back to our podcast 3 or 4 or 5 years from now and say, oh, okay, so they laid out the guidelines for best practices on how to apply this stuff. I mean, that's going to be the hilarious thing, right? It's just because I've been telling people, because they go, oh, dude, you're so down on Gen AI and all these things. I was like, no, I'm down on the hype. It's like, let's be clear here. There's a technology, what it can do, and there's the crap that you say that it can do, which is completely off. There's a huge difference, right? And when you look at enterprises and organizations or even consumers that are looking at using this stuff, if you're setting ridiculous expectations, that's not exactly a right thing to do, right? That's actually harmful. And so we're getting ahead of that, and then trying to help people understand, look, this is some of the realities. I mean, we all go to conferences, we see these demos, and beyond the gimmickry, it's actually super mediocre, if not just like it just failed.
Oh yeah.
But
I think most of us are probably
enamored by the gimmickry.
Yeah.
It's just obvious.
I'm sure some of us have built those demos in the past, and I've built a lot of AI vision demos, and it's a lot of work, a lot of training just to recognize one thing in front of a customer consistently.
And evidently a lot of praying too. There's praying involved.
And it doesn't do anything else except recognize that one thing.
It reminds me of kind of like the web development market, or even like web, like everybody jumped on the CMS, all these little platforms that can build the site. And then before you know it, everyone, says, oh, I can do this myself. I don't need to hire someone. And they go build it themselves, and then it looks like crap. and they're like, oh, I want it to do these 5 things, but it doesn't come with that CMS platform. So that's what you're stuck with. And so, just like with every other industry, you end up going back to the experts. So we're gonna end up seeing this happen in our space as well. But AI has some simple use cases now that work, but it's few and far between on the consumer side. I just don't see it right now.
Right.
I would love to just remind everybody in the audience that this generative AI that people are geeking out on to generate text and images and sounds and music and whatever, that's just one part of AI. And a lot of people, as I'm involved in preparing for conferences that are about AI, and every question is Gen AI to this, Gen AI to this, generative AI to that. I'm like, totally not appropriate for this, that, and the other thing. That's to generate stuff. I go, you're asking wrong questions, because it's like, how are you using generative AI and IoT? And I'm like, well, I'm not. But we've been using AI, also known as machine learning, which is what it really is. And we've been using that and training models on specific use cases, like when's that machine going to fail? And it has to learn over time. And we train models, and then maybe magic happens at the end. And that's not generative AI. And that's what most people in serious business are actually doing today.
Right.
Yeah. Remember
Speaking of that, I have a great example. I had a client who decided, oh, you know what, Stephanie, he pays me monthly to do all kinds of marketing stuff for him. He goes, I found this great guy, and he's going to do these videos for me. I'm like, okay, cool. Go for it. So he sends me the videos, and I'm listening to the videos, and I'm like, who did the voiceover? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, did you guys hire a local, person to do the voiceover on your commercials? Because there's like 7 of them. And he's like, no, well, and I'm like, please don't tell me it's AI generated. He's like, yes, it is. And he goes, I've gone through like 10 voices, and we had to narrow it down to this lady's voice. That is the best that we could find. And I'm like, your generative AI lady, she's got a really hardcore lisp on,
digital
your commercials. And he's like, so he had to finally admit, he's paying way too much for those commercials. And I'm like, you could go find the software yourself and do those commercials yourself if you're going to use that kind of quality. So again, I'm just like, in that, but that is like a super consumer thing to do, is to go, you know what? I'm going to go hire this person, but they're not really producing professional videos. They're using Gen AI to create it, and it's just not. The quality's not there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw on one of Matt Hamlin's, he's the editor at Fierce Electronics. There was a comment by a creative. It's like, oh, what are you using for your art? Because it looks like that diagram, or the graphic that you have looks like something that Firefly produced. And then she showed the samples, and they look horrible. I don't know. See, here's the weird thing. it's like, this whole emperor, with no clothes on type of thing, right? Like all the villagers are saying, wow, you have like the most beautiful outfit ever, right? And these, snake oil tailors, they're, basically ripping everyone off while the emperor's walking around naked. And it feels just like that. It's like, like at Intel, the whole Taylor Swift demo. And you go, hey, wasn't that great? It's like, no, it freaking sucked. Come on. It's like, look, if there's a risk of it sucking, don't do the friggin' demo. Don't show. You are showing that it doesn't work.
Right.
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't get it. It's like, don't tell the emperor to walk out on stage because the dude is freaking buck ass naked.
Right.
He's not wearing anything, dude.
San Diego, man. Just walk around. It's like you walking around San Diego naked every day.
Yes.
Nobody wants to see that.
Exactly like that. Damn
or
it.
It's just like, yes, I need a great voice to do this pitch, and it turns out to be Casey Kasem, and he keeps telling people about their long distance dedication.
They're cleaning up the city, so they would have already removed Leonard from that sidewalk.
Yeah, from under the bridge.
I'm waiting to create my own generative AI voice of myself, so that's the next step for me.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Pete, I think you have a great DJ voice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a good. Yeah, I would use you in a voiceover for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Who else is there?
It's interesting you bring that up, Stephanie, about the marketing piece. Because my wife owns a large digital marketing agency in Atlanta, and they now have 2 full-time people on AI generated marketing stuff, whether it's visual or ads or anything else like that. And people that are not wanting crap are paying big money for big time advertising and motion advertising all around AI generated physical products that are tied to physical people that are not real, and so but they're paying big money for that kind of work.
Let's call them what they are. They're graphic designers or whatever. They're what they are. They're not Gen AI people.
I agree.
They're not.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because you had to hire them. They have 2 of them. But they have a job, and their job is not Gen AI. Their name is not. I mean, that's not their job title.
But again, as we've talked about monetization of this stuff, they're able to sell their graphic designer work for a higher money amount than if it was, 3 guys, in the studio doing it. So
but they're not monetizing Gen AI. They're monetizing themselves. They're just using it as a tool, right?
Yeah, it's just another tool.
Yeah. I mean,
and there's more tools being made, especially in the marketing side, that are involving it. It's just like it's like
you can essentially, some of these platforms, you can essentially deliver a PowerPoint or deliver an image or deliver whatever, and it will create 20 different ways of using that content and those images together in different social platforms and different marketing mediums, different channels. And so in those cases, I like some of the ways it's automating that, because, in the end, you would end up having to manually go create those formats.
Right. Saves time.
Each time, So there's some time-consuming things that there are some beneficial things that are happening in this.
Yeah. But
are people paying for that? It's got to be it's got to be a hidden cost. It's in the software. Somebody else's, it's just not something people are going to pay a premium for. I just don't think it.
Yeah.
And they're experts. Right. They're experts in their domain. They're just using a tool to do their stuff a little bit better. I mean, they still have to have judgment on what's crap and what's not. And that's like some of the first stuff that came out that looked really good, that was demoing Gen AI. I guarantee you the Gen AI tool didn't spit that out. There was a lot of production that went in.
A lot of massaging and asking it different ways to get what you want.
It's not just prompting. They used conventional tools. They did a lot of stuff to get to where they got it,
Yeah, because we've all played with all the tools and we've asked some simple things and it spit out crap. And so, from a quality perspective, or do I trust this? That all already gave us the answers that all of us, us technical people were like, no, this is not where it needs to be.
Yeah. It's got to find its own level in the ecosystem. I'm more worried about chatbots, the unleashing of gazillions of kind of slightly dumb chatbots.
Yeah.
That are.
Well, do you think it's going to be like with
dumb,
people are already annoyed, but do you think it's people are already annoyed. I'm like, do you think it's going to be where, like, when we go shopping now, we're like, oh, we got to check out ourselves all the time now? Like, what's the deal? And same thing with chatbots. So, like, are we just going to get to a point of annoying where we're like, I'm sorry, I need people. Well,
I was saying, like, I would love to see, like, every time I go to the Home Depot, I can never find anybody. So I'd like to see a little kiosk or a little robot I can walk up to and say, where is the super glue? And it'll just tell me where it is. Like stuff like that. I think that could be helpful if it's very targeted.
You kind of have that, Pete, now. If you go to the Home Depot professional services app, you can actually...
Oh, in the app. Yeah, you can use the app.
In the app.
But it'd be cooler if I actually asked a robot, though, wouldn't it? I mean,
right.
Wearing an apron.
Cooler. It'd be cooler.
It would be cooler.
But would you pay 10% more for that glue? Because you
How much 10%. Would you pay?
That's right.
Actually, let me do the Steve Ballmer for Windows 1.0. How much would you pay?
Windowing. Not much.
And now next verse we're going to overlapping windows. How much?
Speaking of that, did you see Gates's interview the other day about Windows is going to go away and it's all going to be replaced?
Yeah.
He has an interesting note about, like, basically the idea that today is like we have to invoke different apps, to do things. And once you have an agent, that can do that for you, then the agent is acting on your behalf across platforms and stuff. I mean, it's an interesting vision. I think we're probably decades away from that. But
well, here's the funny thing.
I got to drop. I got to go to a meeting.
Okay, but I'm gonna riff off of what you said, and you can listen back on it later.
World worker.
Yeah, because you made a great point, Rob. Great seeing you, man. Rob made a great point. How much would you pay for this? And here's the weird thing. People argue, well, look at how revolutionary the internet was and the web. Well, it turns out nobody wants to pay for anything on the web. That's why we have advertising. And that's why advertising is the biggest thing on the web. That's why Google is what it is, and why the search engines at the genesis of all of this.
Right.
That's what they all ended up becoming. I mean, it was like the whole Yellow Pages model, right? Nobody wants to pay for this stuff. So that I think is going to be, that's a really profound statement or quote that Rob made. So because you hear, well, people are going to want to pay for this Gen AI stuff. It's like, really? They don't even want to pay for the web. The thing that you said revolutionized society. They don't want to pay for it.
Right. But like the Home Depot example, if they could show that customer satisfaction is going up because then they can say, well, that's paying for it because I'm getting blah, blah, blah. Right. I mean, it's going to have to be built into the business to accelerate the business for it to pay for itself. I don't think there's going to be a lot of, I'm buying AI, I don't think people buy AI. I think they buy a solution or they buy an experience, and it could be supercharged with AI if it's beneficial.
Well, any company that wants to put a self-service thing out there wants to make it as friggin' cheap as possible. So if they can do it without investing in any kind of hardware, like friggin' R2D2 or a C3PO,
right?
They're going to do it.
Windows IoT
They'll push it off on you
with
this thing.
Inside a mannequin, could have that.
Well, that could be a great way of reusing that stuff, right?
There you
go to a mannequin graveyard and
exactly,
retrofit all of them.
Reuse, recycle, upcycle.
Man,
we were talking yesterday about installation guides and how we've been using videos and all kinds of other stuff related to it. And they were this marketing group with my client was saying, well, why don't we just AI generate all the documents and all the videos for self-installation and support and all that other stuff? Okay. And how much is that going to cost you? How much time is that going to take for you to do that? Now, it sounds cool, but are we going to sell this stuff now, or why would you want to do this? So the monetization, commercialization of stuff around it is going to be interesting over the next.
Although I could see also, like in that case, like when you're setting something up, a piece of equipment, if there's a chat bot to help you, that you can, instead of a FAQ or a search box for help, I can just say, like, I'm trying to figure out how to Bluetooth connect this thing, and it can kind of walk you through that and maybe even show you a video. I could see a product being supercharged with AI like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the chatbot scenario is, the simpler it is to use, the more massive amount of people will, adopt it. But, right now it's like you have the bunch of people that are scared to death of it, don't know any of it, and don't want to bother with it because they don't know it and they don't want to be, in it at all. And then there's this other group of us that, oh, that's cool. That's an interesting chatbot.
I think that's a perpetual issue, though, isn't it? The world is divided by those who are inquisitive about technology and those who are afraid of technology.
That's right.
Well, no, for me, it has everything to do with privacy and confidentiality. It has nothing to do with I don't want to use this technology. It's like I will dabble in it long enough, or only so far as I have some degree of confidence that it's not going to cause me harm down the road. Talking to enough of these companies that are in this mix, there is no assurance unless they disclose, even with RAG, what you brought up.
Yeah.
If you don't know how they constructed or where they deployed the LLM and how the application is architected, you really don't know what kind of exposure you have from a privacy and risk and and confidentiality perspective. No one does. And this is something I tell a lot of my clients, like, be friggin' careful. Don't, know where these LLMs reside and how that function, how are things being isolated to ensure your confidentiality and privacy. And more often than not, the answer is like, we have no idea how to do that down to the personal level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why you need to run your LLM on a Qualcomm Snapdragon that's air gapped. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? And so it's like,
well, it has
totally edge based generative AI. Wasn't that the demo? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but what I'll also tell a lot of people is just consider that more of a technical demonstration that you can do it. Sure. And it exhibits the ridiculous amount of, compute that is being, implemented in these chips.
Yeah.
But will the useful applications require you to run like friggin' an entire, stable diffusion model on your device? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, but I really doubt it. And then when you start thinking, what you're hearing about nowadays is a lot of talk about multi-model and multimodal. That means that you're going to be packing, all these devices, endpoint devices with these massive models, or even skinny down ones in X number of instances is going to take up a lot of resources. But the question is, people haven't asked yet, is for what? And at what cost, right? So, Peter, you contributed a piece on NextCurve about the cost of AI, and we've been talking about the cost of intelligence for better part of like 2 years on the show, as well as people are only starting to talk about that.
Right. Yeah,
really still not talking about it.
Yeah, no, it's not a sustainable path to support the appetite for AI and data centers and the electricity and water.
Yeah. And then where do you charge for that? Is it in the monthly subscription? Is it
that's the
buried
issue.
Into the hardware on the edge?
You think $20 a month is going to pay for all this stuff? Oh, come on.
I mean,
you guys are being subsidized right now. Whatever it is that you're using is heavy. Nobody really knows the viable cost structure for any of these businesses. I guarantee you that nobody knows. It's friggin' hilarious. It's actually funny. You know what I'm saying? That nobody knows. So how are you pricing and then costing this stuff in a way that it's going to be sustainably profitable? And then as you start to build dependencies on it, what impact will it have later on when all of these friggin' services drop off like flies?
Yeah.
And everyone's saying that they're launching an AI device next year, right? So what is on that device that gives you the reason to call it an AI device? It's an AI smartphone, an AI laptop, an AI tablet, or whatever it is,
AI
right?
PC. Don't forget the AI
PC.
Yes. So, but it's like, you guys were talking about, like, do we get to a point where the level of AI, the things that they're putting on these devices or in the hardware itself is going to be so much waste and so much expense?
Yeah.
And that even the what we're used to in terms of speeds and experience that we have on our smartphones now starts to degrade. Like, where's the trade-off there, and who's paying for it? Because I do see that we're going to have a wave of devices launched next year with that moniker, an AI this and an AI that.
But I mean, that's always been
happening. It's already.
That's always been the mantra from the PC vendors and smartphone. They have to give you a reason to buy a new one, right? To shorten the replacement cycle. And so it's graphics, it's gaming, it's AI, it's whatever. It's a better screen. It's whatever the thing is that you need to shell out another couple $1,000 or $1,000 for. And that's just the cycle. But
but then again, I was talking again on a podcast last week. They were asking, where does AI go? Is it too expensive to be on an IoT sensor? And so do we just stop it at the edge box?
Oh,
no.
Tiny ML. Yeah, we can go down to 10 kilobytes.
What is the additional cost? What's the additional cost for the sensor?
Yeah.
It's already $27. If I put AI in this thing and ML in this thing, how much more does it go up, and how much more am I willing to pay? And does my airtime go up because of that?
But if you look at, go ahead, Leonard.
Yeah, no, I mean, like with DSPs and MPUs, there's still a lot of headroom, where you're really topping out on stuff from a, semiconductor scaling perspective is the CPU. Mm-hmm. Everything else, I mean, and this is why, this whole, AI, the race to win AI based on who has the most advanced, process technology is kind of laughable, right? Because there's so much headroom with all these, you're running stuff off of basically DSPs and, not FPGAs, those are friggin' expensive, but you know what I'm saying? It's like not so expensive stuff and not so expensive technologies. And so you can scale, I think there's a beautiful trend of scaling all this stuff down, but the AI functions are, like I said, what we started off in this conversation, very specific, trained to be an expert, and it does one really function that's super valuable, right? It adds, but even then, man, when I was at Semicon West, when people are trying to make this stuff like multimodal and more general, it becomes a disaster, and nobody's interested in it. Everyone's more interested in how do we just get like a friggin' algorithm? Remember algorithms?
Yes.
Right.
That was like the big buzzword at the time.
The big thing about it, and that's something that I was posting about this morning on LinkedIn, is like, if you start to look at all of the countermeasures around the carbon footprint and the energy that's required, the compute that's required for running these large language models, do we get to a point where all these large enterprise, DEI, goals, strategies, carbon footprint goals, everything that's in that earnings, call, and everything that's in that company filing, does that change? Because if you're going to say, I'm an enterprise and I have these carbon footprint goals and I have these goals to be sustainable, but yet you want to invest in XYZ AI, do you realize how that will offset some of the things that you are working towards during when you put together all those strategies, right? Everybody has their corporate strategy plan that includes sustainability goals. And I'm like, I don't think I'm hearing a lot of talk about that yet.
No. Yeah. There isn't a lot of good measurement. The problem is there's no measurement of these workloads in terms of power and resource consumption. So, just like you buy a fridge with what was it called? The Energy Star. It's like, this is cost of $5 a day. There is no Energy Star for AI yet that says these workloads are going to cost you, $10,000 a day to run, or 20 trees or whatever. So until we get to that level of measurement, then people won't be able to really take accountability for it.
Here's the real sad reality. Most enterprises have no way of measuring their sustainability.
Energy.
Yeah.
No, I feel like there's stats that are made up all the time around that. All the time.
No, they don't. And you need an entire infrastructure for that. Literally a digital infrastructure to
measure
all the basic IoT. You need an IoT solution to and a really mature one to measure all that stuff. And measure, manage, and optimize all that stuff.
Right. If you don't measure it,
everything's about IoT.
I think that one of the few areas that they've done an okay job is the HVAC industry in terms of tracking, that
energy usage. Yeah. I was talking to someone, there's a company called Talking Heads Wireless out of Boston. Do you know those guys?
No, great name though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And they do like a low power 5G transmitter, like for cell towers. And they claim that they can save telcos like, 10% or something on their power usage. And apparently, as you know, telcos spend a ton of their expenditures are on power. And so I think we're going to see folks innovating where, you could take some of the cost of your power consumption and really radically reduce it.
Is that around the CBRS or a small cell scenario, Pete?
No. It's it's not like small cell.
Macro stuff.
It's macro cells. Yeah. Talking Heads Wireless. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. I actually had a podcast recording yesterday. I haven't released it yet with someone from Deep Green in the UK. And what they do is they harvest heat from data centers. So in the UK, they have a much more distributed data center approach, and they have these data center pods like near like public swimming pools and apartment buildings and stuff. And they have a heat exchanger. Essentially, they kind of liquid cool the data center in oil, and then they take a heat exchanger from the oil, and then they can heat like 10,000 apartment buildings from the data center or the pool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's like, interesting. Like, okay, so now we're generating all this heat. So how do we let's use it, right? Instead of just passively just cooling it and throwing it into the universe. So I think there's people are looking at this from lots of different angles. And I don't know if you saw Elon Musk's podcast. I think it was a couple of days ago. Lex Fridman, he had a section there about now we have an AI chip shortage now, but in a year or two we're going to have an AI power shortage. We have a transformer step down shortage coming in a few years for AI. So it's definitely on people's radar that there's this collision going to be happening between our wants and our needs.
Yeah. And you know what's going to balance everything out? Economics.
Use case money.
Yeah. Yep. And so and the big thing is we're going to see a huge push toward what do you call it? Ad driven monetization. And that directly infringes upon everyone's privacy, just like what we saw with the web. Yeah. So we're just going to see a more exacerbated problem. But now the big question is who has custody and control over these large language models in all of the different instances. And the creepier ones are the bigger ones, right? Anything that can be localized, great. But I think that's going to be a challenge because it's going to have limited function. But that might be okay. Actually, what we might see is a very lightweight LLM, like what we see Apple doing already, where it does simple crap like enhanced autocorrect, or this really aberrant, not so great implementation of transformers for Siri, right? And I probably just woke Siri up.
I don't know. Siri's listening.
What do you want?
I know. Starts throwing attitude at you after a while. Yeah. And I think we're going to see some of that happening, just so that there's free adoption of this stuff. Because I don't think anybody really wants to pay for it. Like what we've been saying, they just expect it as, oh, okay, large. I'm not going to pay for that. Why don't you just like bake it in?
It's just the next feature, the next capability, the next experience that we expect to get for free. That's it.
And that's how also the hype is going to implode. Because people are going to go, holy crap. Number one, it doesn't do what everybody said. These people who are hyping it up said that it can do. And wow, it's expensive. So the people who are the service providers who are basically tapping into these capabilities and capacity at a massive discount, they're going to realize, oh, I can't sustain a business off of this.
It's always like the existing companies, especially the legacy companies that provide a service, provide a product, they're an OEM or whatever they are. They're not going to be able to charge for it. The only people that end up getting just a small chance of being able to charge for it is a brand new business model that comes in and disrupts the market because of their technology and their, and they charge a fee for it, and they disrupt the market. Everyone else, I'm sorry, they're not going to pay for it.
Yeah, freemium model. I think we've talked about it a gazillion times. I know at Next Curve we talk about it all the time. We break down the whole evolution of the software business model, freemium. And it's the worst model you can ever go with. Sorry.
I don't know how you put AI on a line item on a bill.
No.
You can't.
The AI tax. Apparently, by the way, in Cape Cod right now, they're charging extra 70 cents for tartar sauce. So, anything's possible in terms of charging extra.
Gosh.
Never thought I'd see the day. It's the arrival of the apocalypse when they charge extra for tartar sauce, as far as I'm concerned.
Sauce.
It's the sauce tax.
Comes with. Who has fried clams without tartar sauce?
That is really ridiculous. That's like, that's like French fries and they charge you for ketchup.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Does that make? I mean, it should just be on the friggin' table.
Right. The AI tax. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Schools cost a lot.
Yeah. So hey.
Tough.
So hey, should we wrap it up? I gotta jump on a call.
Yes. Let's do that.
Yeah, but this is a great episode. Hey Pete, it's great having you on.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Awesome having you. Steve, where have you been? Damn it.
That's it. Basketball, flying, running around. It's been crazy.
That's awesome.
You're an athlete.
Here's the real sad thing. Steve could probably dunk over me. He's probably I know he's in better shape than me. Incredible.
Yeah, playing the Florida State games next weekend for Florida State games, and then we got our schedule for next year going to play in Lithuania, Yucatan, Mexico, and Italy next year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
You're an inspiration, man. Seriously.
Yeah, for some stupid people.
Yeah. So, hey everyone, remember, if you got this far, thank you so much. Remember that. And we would like to also remind you again that we have a donation drive going on for Elevate Our Kids. So if you're curious to find out about it, go to Elevate Our Kids at elevateourkids.com. There you go. Right. Or no, not .com, .org. And it's super easy to make a donation. I mean, if you have like $50 or whatever, if you have like 95 million, like Blippi,
we're
bet it on the future of our kids and creating
he never donated, right? He never found out about it.
No, I don't know. I got to hit him up again. Come on. It's like 25,000. It's not that much, but hopefully we can get some generous folks donating before the end of the year so that we can help folks out or kids, actually, K through 12, and participate in all this digital stuff that we love so much. And and remember to follow IoT Coffee Talk at www.iotcoffeetalk.com and like, subscribe, all that like awesome social, YouTuber stuff. And we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Good.
Take care.